What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of VCC Live. This is episode 18. Today we're talking about calling judges. Opening arguments, which is not really opening arguments, as Jay pointed out to me, and I knew that when I titled it, but hopefully people will click it and see what we're talking about. We're talking about the Nick Capure and Right to Be Smoke-Free lawsuit. Remember when you could have done something? And we have a few more topics as well to talk about. But first, we're going to start off with a little bit of housekeeping stuff. Matt's obviously traveling. He's in Europe. Nick just got back from Europe, so maybe he can give us a little bit of insight of what he was doing over there and how things went on his trip. So no show next week. We are, well, Jay, Matt, and I will be in Chattanooga, Tennessee for VCCTN.
Possibly.
Shameless plug. Not possibly.
Hey, give me another discount on the table, and maybe I can fly out. I've got a team going down.
Already paid, dude.
I know.
All right, so if you want information on that event, it is vapingcc.com, and here's the event page. I'll post a link in the description. Here's some information about what's going on, the schedule, the layout, some of the people attending.
Oh, I didn't see there was a layout.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Some of the vendors we have coming in. So, yeah, there's that. And that's where we'll be next week, Chattanooga Convention Center. So make sure you check that out. If you are within a couple of hour driving distance, we will be charging a $15 sampling fee that the FDA requires. That's the way VCC's policy is, and that's what we're doing. So you can go ahead and get that online. Hopefully people do that online early because we're going to have a prepaid line and a non-prepaid line. So it'll just make logistics a lot easier for getting people in the doors if you can just show us on your smartphone your emailed receipt or whatever. So
does everybody get a free lanyard?
All the exhibitors and B2B attendees do, yes. But the way we check everyone, all the public, is they get a wristband, and it's an age-verified wristband. But that will also indicate that they've paid their sampling fee.
Awesome. Wristbands are cool, too.
For the event.
Yes, wristbands are way better for events. We need to get rid of lanyards.
Well, we could do different colors.
I hate lanyards.
We could do different
I feel
colors,
like I'm
guess,
backstage at an Alice Cooper concert.
Yeah.
You are, man. Alice Cooper will be there. I'm just kidding. Alice Cooper will not be there. All right, so let's see. Jay, what's been going on with you? How are things in Mass?
Mass as always since the suggested bills went down is pretty quiet on the advocacy front. So over the last week I've just been preparing for VCCTN. That's it.
Cool. Making some liquids.
Making liquids.
Yeah, Hingham Hill just signed on as an exhibitor, so they'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Before we get to Nick, because I'm sure he's going to talk for a few minutes and tell us about how his trip was and what he's been up to, I'd like to say thank you for everyone in the chat right now for watching live, and just remind you, and I'll do this a couple times throughout the show, if you haven't yet, please smash that like button, and also remember that the comments that you're putting in chat during the live, YouTube doesn't carry over, so if it was anything that was earth-shattering, put it in the comments once the replay gets rendered. So, yeah, we appreciate that. And if you're watching live, and we're also right now at the beginning of the show, so you can all share the link to the live event right now on your social media. So if anyone else is bored and eating their lunch lonely by themselves, they can check it out on their smartphone. You don't have to eat alone, man. Eat with us.
Eat with us.
Eat with us.
Yeah.
Have some
Sprite. Like the new kid in school.
So, Nick, how was your trip to Europe? What did you do over there? How were things going? Yeah. Flight back and all that stuff. What's going on?
Yeah, Europe was great. It was really interesting. I've never been to that area before. I've never been to France before. We spent some time in Belgium afterwards, but the event was in France, in Paris, which I had never been to before. It was fantastic. It's kind of exactly like you picture it. Paris was great. The people were great. The city itself was great. It was a little bit of a dirty city. I mean, I don't want to rag on Paris.
Like
but it was,
naughty?
Yeah, like a naughty. No, like the area that we were in by the convention was beautiful with, I mean, great restaurants and nice people, and the metro was actually really clean. One night we went down to the Eiffel Tower, and the Eiffel Tower area is really kind of gross and dirty. Like, you know, when you see advertisements for Las Vegas and it looks really glamorous and fun and hip, and then when you go to Las Vegas and you're walking down the street and it's gross, and then there's like puddles of gross mystery liquid, and then there's like trash, and then there's like flyers for hookers, and it's kind of gross. That's kind of how Paris is. Like, you picture the Eiffel Tower being this like glamorous destination place, and then when you get down there, there's just really pushy street vendors and trash. And we got out of our Uber, and like the security guy there, I guess he could tell we were American because he said, "Put your wallet in your front pocket and put your backpack on your chest." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Like some sort of demented kangaroo.
Yeah, it was just really bizarre.
So people don't pickpocket you, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of pickpockets down there. I guess the street vendors themselves are known to steal money. Like, they will hand you something and be like, "No, have it for free." And you go, "I don't really want this." And then they'll go, "No, just take it. It's free." And then they'll turn around and come back and be like, €3, €5. And then they'll just like take money out of your hand when you're pulling out your wallet. It was just a really bizarre experience. The event itself was amazing. They had one public day and 2 B2B days. The event was really super professional. Every vendor there kept their areas and their booths really, really clean. There was no loud music coming from the stage, no loud music coming from any vendors. It felt very professional. Everyone was really nice and talking business and taking pictures and sampling juices, and it felt like a very professional event. It was the coolest hall that I've ever seen a vape event in. It felt like an old train station, and there were big glass windows up on the top. It's the only vape event I've been to where there's been actual natural light on the inside of the event.
VCCPA.
Which was VCC.
All the glass top roof.
Oh yeah. VCCPA does have the
And Connecticut Vapor Trail was outside.
Yeah.
And Connecticut Vapor Trail. Yeah, and ECC is going to be outside this year as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a really cool event, really cool people, really super professional. I mean, if there's one word I could use to describe the Paris Vape Expo, it's super professional. It was great. It was weird because there was a really big language barrier between me and the people that I was meeting. Most of them were, European people. So there was people from Italy and people from Belgium and people from France, and they would come up and want to talk to me or take a photo or something like that. And I just had no, it was mostly like facial expressions and hand motions. Like, they would hold up a camera and I'd be like, "Oh, yes, we can do that. Well, let's take a picture." And that's the first time I've ever experienced that. Like, even in London and even in Ireland, you can communicate, but when you're in France, you're not communicating with anybody. All I know how to say in French is orange juice, and that helped me zero while I was there, except when I wanted to order orange juice.
Unless you came across an e-liquid that was...
Right, yeah. Jus d'orange, yeah.
It's orange juice.
Yeah, orange juice.
And overall, I've heard that that's a really professionally run event, very good event, so that's pretty cool. And what about advocacy? Do they have any advocacy there? What they talking about, US or TPD or anything like that?
Yeah. Yes, on the stage they had an advocacy panel, as well as a lot of. I was at the Vape Map distro booth, and they do all of our distribution throughout Europe. And Diego was telling me that almost every person that came up to talk to him about business, the first topic of conversation was the TPD, if his products are TPD compliant, how is TPD compliance going to affect shops in certain areas, and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. So it was a huge topic of conversation throughout the entire event. It seems like people in, at this European event were much more concerned with the TPD than the vapors in America are concerned with the FDA.
I've heard that as well, yeah. Mm-hmm. And both the consumers and the companies seem to be more informed, or what do you...
Yeah, more informed and more like they actually want to know everything that's going on, like every step of the way. How does this affect us? How do we get compliant? What are the ins and outs? They want to know all the details. And in the United States, a lot of people either don't care or they just say, oh, the FDA is banning it. They don't care to try to get through the meticulous details, of which, there's a lot. I get it. There's a lot to take in, but they don't want to learn all of it. It was just a really interesting contrast from what I saw. But overall, super event. Europe's great. I'm already literally planning my trip for next year because I'm dying to go back. It was so fun.
Very cool. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, and we saw the Vape Wave documentary. Are you hip to the Vape Wave documentary?
No, but I was one of the weeks you were gone. You haven't been in here on VCCLive in 3 weeks, right? Was it the last 2 weeks?
It's been about.
So
3
one of
weeks,
them, one of the previous couple of shows, we did the cloud. What was it? Beyond the Cloud, I think.
Oh, okay.
The documentary. We kind of covered that. It was really good, done by a French guy. I think the Vape Expo people. One of the guys did that documentary. It was really done very well, I thought. But what is this one you're talking about?
The Vape Wave documentary is done by a French documentary filmmaker. That's what he does, and he has been He's been making this documentary for 2 years now. My interview in it is from ECC 2014. So that's when he kind of started it, and it's just done now. It's just getting released. We saw one of the first screenings of it, and most of it is in French, with the exception of like mine, Phil, and Dimitri's interviews. The rest of it's in French. So I understood me and Phil and Dimitri in the movie, but literally nothing else. And even though I didn't understand anything else, it was honestly really easy to follow. It was really entertaining. I was engaged the whole time. It was really funny, like a really humorous, with skits, and the message was still serious, but it was really entertaining. It wasn't like a depressing, heavy documentary. It was really entertaining. I think it's a great movie. I can't wait to get to the English subtitled version of it.
Yeah, the Beyond the Cloud was English subtitled, and it's available on YouTube. We posted that link in the description to the video where we covered it. But I wonder, are they going to be releasing this one too as well, like straight to YouTube or public sources? Or are they trying to put it in theaters as like A Billion Lives, or what's the...
You know what? I'm not 100% sure. I know it's getting a European release soon. Not sure when it's coming to the United States. I have the director or the creator's email, so I'm sure I could reach out to him. But
okay,
you know what? I'm not 100% sure. I think it's great. I thought it was a great movie. Great movie.
All right. Well, and while we're still talking, what about, before we leave it, any updates on Proposition 56? Obviously, vote no on it if you're a vapor and you're watching this and you're in California. But has there been anything else happening on that?
I haven't heard any news recently. I've seen a lot of anti-Prop 56 ads as well as pro-Prop 56 ads. Various places on the internet. I don't have cable, but I have an antenna to watch football on CBS, and I saw some pro-Prop 56 ads on there as well. One thing that I thought was interesting is I live right near a 7-Eleven, and I went into 7-Eleven, doesn't matter. I went into 7-Eleven to buy sour cream, random. But right at the checkout, there was a lot of anti-Prop 56 propaganda. There was like a flyer you could take with you. There was a little sign. There was little sticky notes on the register that said, vote no on Prop 56, blah, 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 tax hike, because they sell, they have the wall of cigarettes there, as well as Views and Blue and stuff like that as well. Just thought that was interesting. I've never seen that before, and I thought, yeah, I guess this affects cigarette smokers as well.
And I saw something recently.
That's the interesting thing that I've noticed, is that all the pro Prop 56 propaganda focuses on tobacco, focuses on cigarettes for the most part. Yeah. They don't even touch on the fact that it will be decimating to the e-cig industry. Yeah. Whereas the anti obviously is more focused. It tends to be more focused either on e-cigs if it's coming from our community, or on, obviously, the burden that it's going to create on convenience stores and the like.
Yeah.
I saw something recently, though. There was, I think it was the head of the Department of Education. I can't remember what his title is exactly, but he came out in opposition with some statements opposing Prop 56, and saying basically what we said several shows ago when we covered Prop 56. And that was pretty much not pennies going to the education, which is a huge lie and stuff that they're trying to use to get people to vote for it and pass it. Right. So anyway, yeah, if you're in California and you're registered to vote no on Prop 56.
Yes, please.
So Dimitri is in chat, and he says that the documentary, what was the name of it one more time, Nick?
Vape Wave.
Vape Wave will be theaters, film festivals, etc., not on YouTube. So I guess it is taking kind of the same approach as A Billion Lives. All right. So we're going to move on to our next topic. And really what we have to talk about for the next little while is going to be the Nicopure / Right to Be Smoke Free lawsuit and updates that obviously this past Tuesday they had the oral arguments in that case. And excuse me. And I guess before the court case, before the oral arguments, there were vapors calling the judge's office and trying to persuade her to not kill vaping and please save vaping and, stuff like that. I'll wrap up with opinions after you guys go, but what do you think about that, Jay?
I don't blame individuals who may have called this judge or emailed this judge. A lot of people don't understand, the three branches of government and how they work. I do, however, blame, and I don't know who organized this effort to get people to contact this judge. A judge's job is not to legislate. A judge's job is not to, sway things based on her opinion. Or on public sentiment. That's not their job. Now, whether or not they do that is another question. But they certainly can't be seen to be swayed by public opinion. And the fact that so many people contacted her puts her in a very awkward position. And her retaliation for that was a little heavy-handed, I think. It was probably misplaced, misdirected. But I have to agree with her. It was inappropriate to contact a judge to try to sway her opinion one way or the other. It's just inappropriate. And I'd like to know who organized this effort, just so that we can educate them and tell them, this was, well intended, but hugely misguided. And if anything, may end up being a bad thing for our case.
Nick, I'm sure you've heard about it. What do you think?
Yeah, similar to what Jay said, and I said this in the vlog this last week. I don't blame people for trying. It's just that they don't exactly like Jay said, they don't understand how the whole thing works, and that's not something that's a normal thing to do. You don't call federal court judges and plead your case and try to sway their opinion or anything like that. So I don't know who started it. I don't know who's doing it. Even on Facebook, there's a lot of tinfoil hat kind of sentiments going out that, this was the FDA did it because they were trying to make us look bad.
I just saw a
stuff
comment
like
that says
this.
that in the chat.
Yeah, and you kind of
Right.
go, is it possible that the FDA is having people call the judge to hurt the case?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, Occam's razor, probably not.
Right. Right.
Probably not.
Because if they were caught, that would be,
yeah, that
huge.
would be huge. And so it's probably just well-intentioned, misinformed vendors and shop owners that are doing it or that did it. I don't even know if they said how many calls they received or from how many different people. Was it 2 people? Was it 20 people?
Right.
I have no idea. So it could have been just a small number. I'm thinking 5, maybe.
Well,
It's gotta be
it
above
had to be. I mean, I don't think the judge would have made an issue of it and made a point to make statements on it if it hadn't have been substantial. I mean, I don't think it would have been just a few.
I don't know. What's substantial? 20, 30 people? 50 people?
Yeah, I don't know, but whatever it is, if you, it's too late now. We can't go back and change what people have done in the past, and the oral arguments are done.
Right.
So to bitch about it, we can
point.
bitch about it and say how stupid it was for people to do that, and I'm going to come right out and say that it was stupid of you to do that. I mean, I can't believe people would think that they could sway the opinion of a sitting federal district court judge. It boggles my mind. But from here on out, if you're watching this and you see anyone that says anything about please contact Judge Jackson's office, do not.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
Just stop it.
Who you need to be contacting is your representatives to get them to support and make sure that Cole Bishop is included in the budgeting package that's going out in December. That's who you need to be contacting because they're the ones who you elected to office who can actually do something from the legislative end.
Yes.
Calling a sitting judge, very bad idea. Terrible idea. So whoever came up with that, stop it, please.
Just stop.
Just stop it, man. I mean,
I want names.
Again, I don't know what's going to help us at this point now that it's done. I didn't see anything on any of the social media outlets I'm on or anything like that for anyone was encouraging this type of behavior. But
no.
So I don't know. Maybe people just got it in their head that it would be a good idea for them to call and express their opinion and try to plead their case to the judge. But again, as Jay explained to us, that is not how our system of government works in the United States. And to say that it did damage to our cause, I think is an understatement. Hopefully it did not. I mean, the only thing I can hope is that Judge Jackson during her, decision-making process and while she's writing her opinion will at some point maybe realize that it was just vapors that are so passionate about not wanting to lose their rights and liberties that's why they called her and contacted her. And so it is going to be a several-month process before she renders a decision and writes her opinion and makes a ruling on this case. The sooner the better, but probably it's going to be at least January, I would think.
Yeah, so you're still going to have to register as a manufacturer in December, regardless.
Right. Yeah. And so I've there's an article, and I want to kind of go over to it really quickly here. It's the only article I've been able to find, and I searched Google for as many different search terms as I could think of before we went live today to try to find any major news coverage of this oral arguments in this case, which, again, I know I bring up stuff and repeat it, but we might have new people who are watching who've never watched before. Maybe someone who watched replays never watched before. And it's perspective, ladies and gentlemen, perspective. This has the possibility, this court's decision has the possibility to impact millions of lives in the United States, and hopefully at some point maybe prevent 400,000 to 440,000 deaths per year from use of combustible tobacco. And there is no coverage of it at all. Nothing I could find. The only article I found was something that someone posted the other day here from vaping360.com. And it says, courtroom drama, the battle begins. Attorneys sparred in federal court over the future of the vapor industry, but the real battle will probably be in Congress. And then, again, I'll post a link to this in the description. And I'll read a little bit of it for the people listening on the podcast version on Smoke Free Radio and the different outlets that Smoke Free Radio posted on. But it says the vapor industry had its day in court Tuesday, or perhaps the first of many days. Attorneys representing Nicopure Labs and the Right to Be Smoke-Free Coalition faced off with Justice Department lawyers who spoke for the FDA in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. And each side summarized its arguments and answered questions from the judge presiding over the case. It talks about who they were. I wanted to see where it talks about, says, according to Law 360, the judge seemed skeptical of the vapor company's arguments and aimed most of her questions at Benjamin Block, the counsel representing Nicopure Labs, noting that Nicopure and the FDA agree that most of the vapor market consists of tobacco products that are subject to regulation, that is, they contain nicotine derived from tobacco. She asked why the FDA should not keep its authority just because some consumers may use nicotine-free liquids. Is there anything else, this is a quote, is there anything else in the universe that anyone would do with a vaping device than put a liquid in it and vape with it? Judge Jackson asked the Nicopure attorney. The FDA contends it may regulate devices because they are intended to be used with nicotine-containing e-liquid. Block argued that the Tobacco Control Act, the law that grants FDA its deeming, quote-unquote, authority, does not give the agency the power to define a product as tobacco-based on its intended use. Block, describing vaping devices, said that an open system that is neither made or derived from tobacco or for human consumption is not subject to the regulation. Again, we'll go back and talk about all of this, but I want to get probably to... this was the most telling statement that I saw. Oh, my computer wants to restart. No, please don't do that. That would be very bad. So this is the most telling statement. The judge asked whether the number of e-liquid companies that could not comply with the rules wasn't itself a point in favor of regulations, according to law360.com. She also noted that the predicate date of 2007 is required by the Tobacco Control Act and not subject to FDA discretion. I don't see the authority for the FDA to change a congressionally mandated compliance date, she said. And we'll talk about all the rest of it, but what does that mean? That means she doesn't, in her legal opinion, which, I mean, she's a federal judge, in her legal opinion, the FDA doesn't have, and with the same thing that I've heard Mitch Zeller say millions of times, not millions, it's hyperbole, but anyway, a lot of times, that the FDA doesn't have the authority to change it. The FDA doesn't have the authority to change the predicate date. And apparently she agrees with them. Because she says that the FDA, I don't see the authority for the FDA to change a congressionally mandated compliance date. Why do we have this get involved and support Cole Bishop as hashtags on our show? Because Cole Bishop is the only viable mechanism at this moment in time for Congress, who are the ones who can change the predicate date and tell the FDA, now the predicate date is August 8th, 2016, not February 2007. That's why. Mm-hmm. And if you're putting your hopes and dreams and hanging them on this judicial ruling to change the predicate date, I think it's pretty clear when the judge makes a statement like that, saying that she doesn't see the authority for the FDA to change it. That's not going to happen.
Right.
What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, that's one aspect of this lawsuit. Right. And, you know, if we lose that, I mean, I've been focusing my attention on Cole Bishop and telling people to write to their leadership to support Cole Bishop. You know, there are plenty of other aspects to this lawsuit that could help us. But yeah, I mean, Cole Bishop is Cole Bishop. It's been my understanding that the FDA is not going to change the predicate date. I'm not at all surprised by the judge, you know, tending at least on the onset to lean towards their argument.
Nick?
I mean, yeah, if a judge says that the FDA doesn't have the authority to change the predicate date, then I would believe the judge.
This was a statement by her during the oral arguments. It's not in her ruling, but I don't see that that's going to change.
Yeah, I don't see that that's going to change. If we want to change the predicate date, we do it through Cole Bishop. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty cut and dry. I mean, that's pretty black and white. If we want to change the predicate date, which is insanely important, then we do it through Cole Bishop, and that's just a statement of fact. That's how we do it.
Demi's asking, why does August8.org still say that HR 2058 is a bill that can change the predicate date?
So let's go over to that really quickly here. On the right monitor, I just pulled it up because of Dimitri's question. It says, this is August8.org, and it redirects to this link, I guess. Support a change to the predicate date for vapor products newly deemed by tobacco and the FDA. Currently, there are 2 pieces of legislation in Congress that would effectively change the predicate date, and this was written on August 8th, by the way, 2016, for products deemed to be tobacco by the FDA. Why? I'm assuming they haven't updated the language to it yet. It needs to be updated to be current, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't know. To answer your question, Dimitri, I have no idea why. Should it be updated? Absolutely, and immediately. Because
they include both. It says both HR 2058 and the Cole Bishop Amendment are
right,
vehicles.
But at this point, HR 258 probably should be removed from that. Not probably, it should be removed from that, and it should be updated because Cole Bishop is the only mechanism at this immediate moment in time, and that's happening. I think they moved the budget hearing to December 9th, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's December, but it may not be December 9th. So yeah, HR 2058 is not something that's going to have any impact in the next month or 6 weeks. Cole Bishop is. And every advocacy organization should be telling their members that. We certainly say that every week on VCCLive, and we have it as, a hashtag support Cole Bishop. So absolutely, this is the only thing that's going to change the predicate date in the immediate future. I mean, barring some mass legislation next year on the federal level, getting this and getting this included into that budgetary package and having it passed with the budgetary package is crucial. I mean, it's absolutely crucial. I don't really know how else more we could stress that. But if you're in a state that has a state advocacy organization, they should be working on measures for member companies and also consumers to get in touch with their elected representatives in Congress and U.S. senators to ensure that this is included. The Cole Bishop Amendment is included.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're here.
Yes.
Is it misleading and creating confusion? It may be. Yeah. I mean, absolutely, and it needs to be updated.
Get on that, Kristen Noel Marsh.
What's that?
Get on that, Kristen Noel Marsh.
Thought you were calling me names.
You're not that pretty.
Yeah, I'm not sure who. I think she's married, Jay. Come on. Keep it civil.
That means she's not pretty?
No comment.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the whole point of this was to kind of update everyone on what happened with the lawsuit. And the update is some things were done by vapors and or vape companies in the United States. We're assuming that's who did it. That may have damaged the oral arguments, or at least damaged the judge's view of the vaping industry and her eyes in rendering her decision. So if you're watching this, or you can share this information, please don't contact the judge's office. It was a bad strategy by whoever devised it, or if it was just people that are doing it. If you weren't informed, well, now you know. Like Biggie says, if you don't know, now you know. I'm not going to finish that, but yeah. So, and also it's going to take a little time for her to render her decision. So I guess we're just going to have to be patient and wait and see what happens. And in the meantime, really hammer home that argument of support Cole Bishop with your elected representatives at the federal level in your state. Anything else that you guys can think of on the lawsuit aspect of it? Obviously, none of us were there, but
Demi makes another good point. He says the judge said in court to the FDA, you are setting up the industry to fail. 2 years is simply not enough time for anybody to complete a PMTA. So, I mean, that could be the delays that Demi and others have been talking about, for the past 2, 3, 4 years, may come to fruition, at least to a certain extent. I mean, regulations are obviously in place. Cole Bishop is essential. But if it's possible that out of this lawsuit we get an extension for those PMTAs, that could certainly give us more time to fight.
Yeah, well, as we've said, we say it all the time on here as well. The goal is to kick the can down the road. We want to kick the can for as long as we can and make extensions until we can get some federal legislation passed, because federal legislation is the only thing that's going to save the vaping industry in the United States. That's it. You can argue whatever you want in front of the judge, but if the law doesn't provide for the FDA to do a certain thing or give them guidance, then they're going to do what is existing. And we have to change legislation at the federal level. So is it a promising thing that the judge made those kind of statements during the oral argument? It's promising for the vaping industry, yes. But does that mean that she's going to come out with it in her ruling? No, it does not.
Here's the thing, though. I've learned from looking at other court cases, in completely unrelated subjects, that a judge's questioning does not always indicate what the ultimate ruling is. Sometimes it's the complete opposite. Sometimes the judge is just trying to appear impartial, even though they're going to turn around and fuck you in the ass.
Wow.
Oh, well, hey.
No holds barred.
Sorry, too soon? Too soon? But it's the truth. You just don't know necessarily based on the line of questioning that comes from the judge how they're going to rule.
Well, we do hope that plays into her thought process, though. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Jay, but yeah, we do hope that plays into her thought process when she's making this ruling, and at the very least extends the PMTA, because as I've said in the past, I'm 99% sure that no one will get a PMTA. I just don't think it's going to happen. It was designed not to happen. I don't care what the FDA says in some of their webinars. Oh, we've designed a process to get many companies through it. No, they have not. There's just not enough time to do all the studies and requirements that are required in such a short period of time. I think that the FDA set this up for failure, and if the judge can realize that, and if she can at least include that aspect into a ruling to give us a little bit more time, that's what we need to do. Kick the can and buy time. That's what we need to do with the litigation aspect.
And I stand by what I've been saying since the initial draft was released, that it's pretty clear that this was written by the tobacco industry and pharma or pharma.
I think pharma and or the tobacco industry. I think you have it backwards, but yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about the deeming regulations, right?
I'm talking about the deeming regs. It seemed like, like we've been talking about, trying to test an e-liquid with multiple devices across multiple voltages and wattages and what have you is virtually impossible. So it's really written for closed systems to possibly pass the PMTA process.
Possibly, right?
Possibly.
I agree. Nick, you look like you're holding back a lot of things there. Let's explore.
No, I'm just trying to think.
Say
in
"fucked
my
in the
head,
ass" or something like Jay did.
if we can get Cole Bishop through, and we can change the predicate date to, it changes the predicate date to 2016, correct? Mm-hmm. That's what it does. So if we can change the predicate date to 2016, then the PMTA will only apply to any new products coming out after 2016.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
But it also gives people who are filing PMTAs, if they get that extended, like say for instance they extend that PMTA deadline to 4 years instead of 2 years, it gives them something to compare it to that's realistic. Not a few Cigalikes that were on the market in 2007.
Believe me, it's not a perfect solution even for those 4 years. It's still not a perfect solution because we're not allowed to release any new products. Period.
Well, and isn't standard equivalency just as difficult a process as a PMTA?
Substantial equivalent is not going to be approved either. Nope, there won't be any.
Okay.
I just don't believe that I don't believe that they designed the process to allow people to pass. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
to what end? They want to see vaping gone. They want to see anything with nicotine gone. Except for combustible tobacco products that were on the market and are grandfathered in, which is the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my life.
Or patches or gums or pharmaceutical NRT. Nicotine replacement therapy. NRT, yeah, NRTs.
Anyway, I needed a
Interesting.
vape. I just picked up this the other day. I'm not advertising for it. I'm not going to tell you what it
Oh
is,
my
but
God.
I like it quite a bit.
I'm not going to tell you what I thought that was when you first held it up.
What?
Looks like a tampon.
Looks like a
dude.
lighter, actually.
Looks like cotton breakfast sausage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm digging it.
Anyway.
So yeah, maybe something like this, and I've seen a lot of companies come out with these, but even this is not a closed system. I mean, you can pop it open
that's
and
really
refill it.
that's more of an AIO style
Yeah.
system.
It's great, but it's not a closed system.
right.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately the goal is kick the can down the road, extend the timeline, and get Cole Bishop through as soon as possible. So again, if you're watching this and you haven't contacted your representatives, I've contacted my representative, not in a while, but because the last time I spoke to them, they assured me that they were going to sign on as supporting the Cole Bishop amendment, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And you need something like that, each of you, from your representatives. I think the two representatives in Florida are already supporting Cole Bishop. That's Democrat Bill Nelson and Republican Marco Rubio. And do I think they give a shit about vaping? Not at all. What do they care about? The cigar provisions that are in there and how it would affect that. Why? Because in case you didn't know, Florida is a huge cigar manufacturing mecca. So they have a lot of wealthy companies, that are probably supporting their campaigns, and a lot of influential voters who are supporting their campaigns from the cigar community. Does it matter to me? Hell no. As long as they support a Cole Bishop getting through, that's what matters to me.
Yeah.
So if you can tie something like that in to find something in there, it doesn't matter why they support Cole Bishop and have it included in the budgetary package. Just find something that they can agree with and tie into, and get your representatives and senators on board with supporting Cole Bishop being added to the budgetary process.
Now, what would you suggest in a state like mine, where our federal representation, our senators and House reps, are completely antagonistic towards anything nicotine or vaping related, and they've stated it. They've made public statements, in direct opposition to our cause. Is there anything else that we can do?
Is it because they're mostly liberals
Because
in Massachusetts?
I can't keep writing letters to somebody who's just going to keep saying, "Nah, you're an idiot."
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
what else can we do?
If they're a liberal and they're a Democrat, and which has been most of the opposition to vaping, you could hammer home, which again I don't know how much is going to have an impact on them, but you could hammer home the point that it's going to put businesses out of business, and it's going to cost them revenues that they therefore can't spend on their beloved social programs.
Yeah. Well, like Jennifer Berger Coleman. Hi, Jennifer Berger Coleman. She said in chat, my representatives will die fighting against Cole Bishop, unfortunately. I'm in the same boat. I have the radiant Barbara Boxer in my district, who is the most anti-smoking, anti-nicotine person I've ever come across. I've contacted her office multiple times, and I get the same response back that we need to protect the children against the dangers of nicotine. And she's firmly against anything. She's for Prop 56. She's not for Cole Bishop. I don't know what else I can do except keep bothering her and make her madder. And that just puts her further into the camp,
There are some men you just can't reach. I think that's from Cool Man Luke, and also the beginning of Civil War by Guns N' Roses. Some men you just can't reach. What you got to do is see if there's anyone else you can focus on. Maybe in neighboring districts or something. Tell them that, typically if you're going to have, if your district is housing people who are negative vaping or anti-vaping or anti-nicotine, check some of your surrounding congressional districts. Tell them that, you can explain to them when you call or write them a letter or whatever, that you don't live in their district, but you are a neighboring district and you have a lot of friends who live in their district. And, you would really appreciate their support. I mean, should you spin your wheels and waste time on people who aren't going to change their mind or opinion? I don't think so, but you should focus on what you can do, and there has to be someone surrounding in your districts that.
Certainly in a state like Massachusetts, not in the Senate. I mean, the senators are the senators, and they've already out. I mean, we're talking about Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey. Those are my senators. We're not changing their mind by writing letters to those two.
Right.
But in the House, especially as you get further out west, representatives from, people away from Boston and the population belt in Massachusetts, there are certainly more open minds, I guess.
Anyone close around where you are, Nick, or is it pretty much everyone is?
It's most everyone. I have Boxer and Feinstein.
Same situation.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Good Lord. And I feel like pestering them just pushes them further into it's like arguing politics on Facebook. Nobody changes their mind and everyone just gets mad.
And
I feel like I feel like that's exactly what's going to happen. She's just going to get more anti.
Congressman Duncan Hunter's in California. I don't know, is he close to where you are? Maybe you can call his office and ask them who might be on the fence with supporting Cole Bishop, and then contact them. I'm sure that they would know. His office would know. I mean, obviously, he's going to support it. So, yeah. I don't know, man.
What are you going to do?
Anything in chat
Cole
that
Bishop.
we've been missing? I haven't been checking it lately, so...
A lot of good discussion. I don't see any recent questions directed at us.
Yeah, we vote, Amy. I would say, unfortunately, in presidential election years, you get a lot better voter turnout, but it's still pretty pathetic for a country who has the right to vote for their elected representatives, and 40 to 50% don't even turn out to do that. So if you look at the population of people who are vapors, which I've seen estimates anywhere, I mean, they're going up to 9 million now. 9 million people vape. I don't know where they're getting that from, but let's say it is 9 million people. Let's say 50% of those vote across the country. That's 4.5 million people. And if you break that down by district, I'm not sure. Maybe in some areas we have the ability to sway an election. If 100% of vapors voted, yeah, we would definitely have more voting power. But if you say we vape, we vote, or I vape, I vote, and you're not even registered to vote, guess what? That information is public, and they can find out whether or not you've ever voted in an election, or what elections you've missed and stuff like that. So you can't. It's not a statement that you can make lightly. I know you probably do, Amy, but we need everybody who's a vapor that says I vape, I vote, to make sure you're registered to vote. And the deadline, I think, might already even be passed for this upcoming election in November. Yeah, absolutely, Amy. I agree
think
with
that it depends on the state. I think in Massachusetts it's coming up. I think it might be the 18th. Is that right? 18th.
Well,
So
check
this
with your
coming
local
Tuesday?
elections office to see if you're not registered to vote, and you still can do it. We have to use. That's one of the most fundamental powers that we have as citizens of this great country, and that is to vote. And if people aren't doing the job that you want them to do, to work against them and vote them out. So,
yeah, and you know what? Consider becoming a one-issue voter this time around. I mean, it means more this term than it ever has in the past. So, just consider it. I'm just throwing it out there.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
All right, so we pretty much talked about the lawsuit. We talked about Cole Bishop, the importance of everybody supporting that. Anyone have any questions in chat that they'd like for us to answer, or do you guys, Jay or Nick, have anything else that you think we might have skipped that we could talk about? We have about 10 minutes left, but we don't have to go the full hour. So
There's one thing I wanted to plug. There's an event this weekend. Tomorrow, actually, in Wisconsin, the Vape Rally 2016 to support Senator Ron Johnson. Not sure if we're familiar with Senator Ron Johnson.
Yeah.
He's a huge cheerleader for vaping. He doesn't vape. He doesn't smoke. He has a lot of power. We need to make sure that he stays in office and in his positions. And there's an event at the Johnson Creek facility tomorrow in Wisconsin. You just have to show up and vape and show your support for Senator Ron Johnson. There's an Eventbrite page for it that I can put in the chat, but yeah.
you can Skype me the link, and I'll put
Senator
it in the
Ron
description of the video.
Johnson. Tomorrow. It's October 15th. I know it's short notice. It's happening tomorrow. If you're in Wisconsin, you can show up and show your support for Senator Ron Johnson, who is very, very much on our side, and we need to keep him where he is in his position with Homeland Security, as well as his senator position. I think it's super important.
Yeah,
Here, I'll
I
put
agree.
it in the chat.
For those of you who don't know, I think we talked about him again several episodes ago. There's a link. Just check through the playlist of VCCLive. He's the one that wrote the letter to the FDA demanding some answers to certain things that they did in their process. And
yes,
yeah, not sure how far he got with that, but again, he can't do anything if he's not back in office. So if you're a vapor, we definitely need to support that. Yeah, Hands for a Billion Lives. Thank you, Jennifer, for mentioning that. We'll be doing that.
That's what I wanted to just address briefly. In Massachusetts, I am designated the facilitator, but I'm planning on not being here in the state that weekend. So I'm still trying to locate another facilitator to help me organize an event at Boston Common. So if anybody is interested, go to handsforabillionlives.com and feel free to contact me on Facebook if you want to give me a hand.
Yeah, Dimitri is, I think, the facilitator for parts of Tennessee or maybe the whole state. I don't know. But anyway, we're doing it next weekend at the VCTN event. It'll be during the B2B session. Hopefully we have some people lining up out front for the public session, but we're going to see if we can, make a pretty big statement at the Chattanooga Convention Center in Chattanooga, Tennessee next weekend. There was something that crossed my mind a second ago, and I can't remember what it was. I know A Billion Lives is having screenings starting around the country in different places, and there's one to benefit the Florida Smoke-Free Association. November 10th in Oldsmar, which is kind of by Tampa going out towards the coast. And so you can find information for that on Facebook. Anything else? Any other questions anyone has in chat? Again, we won't be here next week. We won't be doing a show next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully, with everybody, I hope, back from travels. Nick, are you going to be around in 2 weeks? Or are you traveling again?
2 weeks.
It'll be the 28th.
So the 28th. Yeah, I'll be here. I won't be here the week after that. I'll be at VaporCon East.
Okay.
On the 4th. But I'll be here the 28th for sure. Yeah.
Someone says, Gorilla Machine. Question. I'm in Wisconsin, and with the election coming up, I have the ability to vote for Senator Johnson. Should I? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. No questions asked. Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson.
The name is not made up.
The name is not made up.
He's
Ron
the
Johnson,
other
Gary
Johnson.
Johnson's.
The other Johnson. Get it?
Yeah.
Nick from Daily Vape TV has a comment. VCCTN. Rock on, Nick. We'll see you next weekend there, hopefully.
Yeah.
And Jay is definitely attending.
We'll
so
see.
anyone who wants Jay's autograph, make sure you stop by and see Jay at the Hingham Hill booth.
If there are any shops watching, if you place a big order before next week, then I'll definitely be able to go.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up just a few minutes early. Appreciate you guys watching every week and tuning in. If you're watching live now, please don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. I know that there are some of you, because I can do the simple maths that are going on in my head right now. Some of you haven't liked the video yet, so make sure you like the video. And once we share the replay on the Facebook VCCLive page, make sure that you share that as well. We'd appreciate that. Again, the audio version of this will be available on smokefreeradio.com and usually within a day or two. And you can listen to that on the go. I think they have Spreaker, SoundCloud, and other avenues that they put it out on. So make sure you check that out on smokefreeradio.com. I guess that's about it. So see you guys. See you, Jay, next week. Nick, we'll see you in a few weeks back here, hopefully with Matt as well. Remember, you don't have to do everything. You do have to do something. Get involved.